Ulonkata bati yada to ye kuma daifa. Inu to ye ko je love bipa. Oba tala, oba takutakun. Songo Eshu, Ogun Oya Osun. Kini ṣẹ̀ṣe tán ṣe nílé yìí o. Ó jẹ́ lọ jára.
Taking my first trip to Africa last year in March, it was, for me, I would equate that to the journey of one of my heroes, that is the Honorable Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, also known as Malcolm X. That was like my personal pilgrimage to the motherland, and it definitely did something to me to the point where I felt like the energy was so profound, it was so powerful, and the way that it was invoked within myself. I said, when I come back home, I can't go back to business as usual. I can't go back to just doing everything I was doing without figuring out a way to invoke the ashe that was literally put into my spirit, that was put into my soul by stepping foot on the continent. And so that's kind of where the origins and the genesis of the Ashe podcast came from. It was a vision to bring about a platform that can share our truth, our story, our history from a truly melanated perspective, unapologetically melanated revolutionary perspective. And so with that, that's where the energy of the ancestors kind of came in. And honestly, when I got ready to launch, I wasn't ready to launch. But the spirit was on me so heavy, I said, you know what, I gotta listen to the spirit. I gotta listen to these voices because I don't want no problems. And so it was like, get out there and make it happen. But in doing so, I feel like there was a lot of ashe, there was a lot of energy that was activated in the universe. Because in doing that, there was a lot of different people who came along to kind of make that journey and to make that process a lot easier. Because a lot of elders saw what we were doing, they believed in it, so they riding with us. A lot of people who were younger, the younger generations, they're getting their history, things they're learning that we have never been taught in these schools, and rightfully so, because the school system is doing what it was created to do, and that is to miseducate us. So therefore, me being blessed with having relationships with masters like Professor Smalls, Professor Kamene, who was there I think last year, Baba Ifa Karaday, and a lot of other elders, Baba Hokun Tolu. And so there's been a lot of different elders who have supported and poured into the tribe, the Ashe Nation, Ashe tribe. So it's bigger than us. And for me, I always knew it was bigger than me. So I literally give thanks for the ancestors for paving the way and kind of putting me on the path to just be a medium, to just be a conduit, to be able to transfer the energy, to transfer the Ashe, but to activate and invoke a spirit of revolution. One of the best, the best documentaries I've ever seen, one of my favorites, is 1804. And that's where Baba Smalls, Baba Kamene, they all was in there like dropping heat. And they spoke about the Haitian Revolution. And they broke it down to a point that it really spoke something to my soul. So one of my new heroes after watching that is John Jacques Dessalines. And John Jacques Dessalines was the spirit of Ogun. That's and right. Today, if you follow the Ifa, Isheshe, Ojo calendar day of the week, today is Ogun's day. So I'm going to ask that we all invoke the spirit of Ogun. Iba say Baba Ogun, Ogunye, because Ogun is a warrior who was relentless. He works nonstop. He about that life. Like, he makes things happen. So today we're here to make things happen. Like, we have that Ogun energy, that Ogun Ashe is with us. The spirit of the ancestors is with us. The ancestors who lost their lives that we here represented for today is with us. I feel the energy. I feel all the Ashe. I feel that energy. And we want to make sure that we're doing what we need to do to carry on this energy, to carry on this work, and to carry on this legacy so it's not forgotten. Because we got children, we got 7 generations behind us that I'm inspired to try to make a legacy and to make an impact on this planet, so that way our children don't go through the same BS that our ancestors, that our elders, that our parents and grandparents went through. Because it's not that I can't stand for that. And it's like I got the energy and the passion to want to make things happen, but we got to do it collectively as a tribe. So for that, I want to kind of open it up for a town hall discussion in regards to what do we feel like, anyone in the audience and crowd, is like top priority for us to come together to be able to make shift happen. Everybody in China?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Turn it on.
For us to be able to come together, we have to stop separating ourselves for one. So, we all know that white supremacy has separated us in many ways, including religion and things of that nature. If we could simply put those things to the side, put our pride to the side, our ego, our trauma, and just come together, we can really unite and just do what we need to do. You know what I mean? And cut out all types of distractions. Like we're really like sunken. It's a lot of stuff on the media. It's a lot of distractions. Even the things in our food, the things that are putting in our food, chemicals, that deteriorates our third eye, which is what we use to become more aware of things. So, yeah.
I appreciate it. Oh, no, thank you.
Good afternoon. I just got here. And Brother Omar, thank you. The ancestors jerk my memory. I'm just kidding. I'm Raphael, last name L. If you don't know your history, I'll give you hell. That's in Louis. I'm with Kevin Foundation. And as the sisters of our divisions. So, I asked the ancestors for the answer. Why are we so divided? And as a self-taught historian, they took me all the way back to the Tower of Babel. We spoke one language, the Pinkalak. All right? After the Tower of Babel, we weren't able to speak to each other no more. We have not united since the Tower of Babel. And we have not recovered. Division of the mind. So I asked them, how do we address that? And the answer was so simple. It jerked me when they tested it on me. I heard Marcus Garvey say, who are you? And I was there trying to answer an elder. And I was stuttering and thinking, not to give the running, because I could see Frederick Douglass over there laughing. And for the morning, I could see the elders there. I said, look at him. I think he's ready. And he don't know who he is. And so, after I stumbled, they looked at me and said, look at your skin. The largest organ of your body. You don't even recognize it. He said that skin you wear was assigned to you before your mama saw you. And that skin you wear attached you to land, because that's the only valuable thing on earth. And if you don't recognize that, nothing else matters. So I said, oh, I'm an African. And they laughed. I said, he's coming. He said, you're an African before you were born, a sign. So become an African. And I came out of that meditation and said, I am an African. And an African, I must speak. Once we get to that point in our minds and set aside everything else, all the excuses that we have, religion, politics, whatever it is, we can unite on that one thinking. We are Africans. Thank you.
How y'all doing today? Good afternoon.
Blessing,
Brother Maurice Meyer, man. This is my hometown. I don't know if y'all from here, man, but it's a blessing to be in a room like this. Being born and bred from here and seeing all these great neighborhoods. And if y'all from here, y'all know what these neighborhoods this way used to look like before everything changed, right? Before everything started to tear down. So I know coming to an event like this, are things that we need for our community in order for us to grow, in order for us to gain that unity. So not to take up too much of the time, but to definitely that question, I asked myself that same question a lot of times, and I did see some clarity during COVID as to, what can we do, or what is the problem, right? I think we all have some echoes of what we feel we need to do, but it is something where it needs to be unified. So I can't help but think about a movie I just saw yesterday. How many people in here saw Drumline? Right? Just about everybody here has seen it on BET, something on TV. But if y'all remember what was the most important thing they said on that, they said, one band, one sound. Right? One band, a band of people, and one sound, right? All working together with different instruments. We all sitting in here, all have one specific instrument that we need to apply to everybody else in this room. And when we march and tap in unison, right, we will be that sound that we all need to cultivate and come together and make any changes. So my last thing to really add on that is to just think about this. And I know some of you guys saw this during COVID, where it was Black History Month, and everybody was like, you know what? Today, this whole month, I'm just going to block from Black-owned businesses, right? And imagine how much of that dollar can just circulate throughout all our communities, throughout every city, every major city around the U.S. and beyond, if we all just decide to do that just one day, right? And I seen T.I. pushing something like that very shortly, and I said, yo, that's a possibility. If we all just decide to come have one sound, or one creed, or unity on one thing, it can be one thing and we can just add to that. But let's just think of one thing we all can say, yo, I'm African, you African, okay, I'm with it, right? You need something, I need something. What you need, and we just build off of that, right? So it's something with that where we make a unified decision on one thing. Let's just all come together. We make censuses, don't like American census. Where's the Black census to pull us all together? And we said, okay, I can get with that. My man in Oakland, I can get with that. My man in D.C., I can get with that. Bmore, my man in L.A., I can get with that. That one thing. And once we figure out what that is, then I know we can move forward, and we can always march in unison from it. So I'll leave it at that.
Good evening. Madisa Wadube. For the individuals that put this event together, we greatly appreciate it. We need this culture. I come from Daytona, New Smyrna Beach. But when it comes to Black power, when it comes to Black people, I don't mind traveling. I saw Baba Small in Fort Lauderdale like 4 years ago. I believe it was the African Multicultural Library there, and that was in Fort Lauderdale. So I don't mind traveling. Travel to Texas, travel to New York, and I think that's something we need to do also. When we talk about unity, we can't be scared to go elsewhere besides where we stay, right? Because there's so many connections that you can make worldwide. And I'll be in Gambia this October doing skills training and spreading these same insights about, Africans in the diaspora, Africans on the continent, and discussing, tactics of unity, and also sharing some skills. It will be a work trip, but we want to help galvanize Gambia's tourist economy by training up their young people. So we'll be doing that. The next part of what I'm going to speak about is going to be controversial. So please forgive me. No disrespect if what I say doesn't align with your views, but in the future, and hopefully sooner than later, you'll see where I'm coming from. One of the major problems that I see is we've been put into this really crazy existence, right? Being taken from our homeland, stripped of our culture and language. It wasn't stripped for good. If you know your culture, if you know where to go, we still have some language. We still have ability people. If you know where to go elsewhere in South America, Caribbean, there's a lot of cultural continuity. And so you can learn that. But space-age Africanism is coming. And what I mean is that I feel like the Black community has stepped back a little bit. We've given up the things that we were the originators for. And I'm talking about science. So I understand the fear, and I get it. We have every right to feel the way we do because of the past. When you talk about Henrietta Lacks, the Tuskegee study, and many other atrocities. Right now, I think the most pressing one is pregnant women, right? Our mortality rate is super high when we give birth. So I know lots of Black women who are doulas now to kind of impact that, because those things have nothing to do with science. They have to do with human error and the implicit biases that we suffer at the hands of people that don't see us as humans, that don't regard our lives, don't regard our children. So I think it's important for us is to galvanize our future. Don't let them be afraid to get into tech, AI, to understand what that is, right? Because the workforce is going to change. The next 50 years is not going to look the way it is. And we don't want to be standing at the bottom tier of the ladder ever again. So I urge you all to employ your children, your young people, to get in to get some scientific literacy, to explore scientific options for careers. I do a show on YouTube called Galaxy and Beyond. We talk about astrophysics. It's not the most fun on the outside, but when you align that with the history of our ancestors seeking freedom, following your drinking gourd, and you can teach them how to stargaze like our African ancestors did over and over again. Like these African conquistadors when they was on their ships with Columbus and all these other Spanish and Portuguese, mariners, right? They all knew how to read the stars, that was the thing, but, African people had a gift for that. So don't be afraid of the evolution of our being and moving into these new times. So, that's the message I'm giving here. Don't be afraid of modern technology. Don't be afraid of the science. I am 2 years mesothelioma free. When I first got that diagnosis, that's a 20% chance of survival. I didn't think much of it. I was just like, I'm gonna live. The thing is, I didn't employ myself. I was a vegan for 20 years, so veganism was gonna heal me. I should have never gotten it. I'm not against it. I still do plant-based. The thing is, that's not all I did. Besides exercise and eating right, I adhere to modern technology, modern medicine, and I'm standing here today. Never looked like I spent the day in the hospital. You can't see the scars out there, but they're there, okay? So I just urge you all, don't forget about the science. Don't forget about the Ashango bone. Don't forget about African fractals, binary systems, all the Black, African American, African inventors, scientists who have paved the way. Right now in South Africa, we have a woman that's leading the South African Space Agency. I don't know how that's gonna work in the future. Y'all know what's going on. But however, we're doing these things, and the journal Nature speaks of AIMS, which is an African initiative for math. And this group teaches our young ladies in parts like Gambia on mathematics, getting into skills that use high-level mathematics. Happening in Africa right now, portrayed in the journal of Nature. So we're doing these things and we're impacting in science and technology, and I don't want us to forget that. I want us to be on the top. I want us to be able to create our own tables so we can strive and move forward in the future and be totally unstoppable. We won't need for anything. We know how to regulate our own resources. So I don't want to go too long, but I want you to ponder on those things I just said. If you want any further information, please feel free to see me at the end of the show. Thank you.
United we stand, united we fall, family. I appreciate everybody for all the powerful messages. Brother Smoke?
Yeah, I want to add on to something that Sister Gigi said. Sister Gigi, we welcome that statement, but I've got to put a but there. And the but is, we have never rejected science and technology. Our enemy has got in, especially after Brown versus the board, and our children was put into the enemy hand to be educated. Our level, we were the top of the science in this country, we were the top of the math in this country, and once our educational system I went to an all-black school. I've never had a white teacher until I got to university. And I went to a one-room school with one teacher from the 1st to the 6th grade, and nearly all of us went on to college. Right. And that was the trend throughout our country, but something happened with that Brown versus the board, and we got played out of pocket. And the next thing you know, after the Brown versus the board, most black teachers lost their jobs because they were teaching in black schools. Most white principals lost their jobs. And the school system all of a sudden was in the hands of the same Ku Klux Klan consciousness that we had fought against. And that's when we saw a decline in science, because most of the inventions in this country is ours. Correct. Most of the heavy technology that came in the 18th century, 19th century, early 20th century is us. That's the same thing for France, Germany, England, wherever they've taken us out of the continent. And in the continent, the problem is we were occupied by a military force since 1885, after the Congo Conference, which sometimes we call the Berlin Conference. They declared war on Africa. Every European country invaded our country. That should have been called the First World War. They don't even call it a war. And they've suppressed us. So our struggle now is to come from under that suppression. There was, in the last 10 years, and I agree with you, a trend in our community to say, go holistic and natural, and not understanding the nature of technology that we have to use that's coming from the white sector. Even much of the diagnostic tools of medicine, and I have a cousin in here who's a nurse, I have a wife who's a physician. I started in medical school, but I just wasn't smart enough. So the Western, and thanks to us, especially America, produced the best diagnostic concepts and tools in the history of the world, except probably back in ancient time when we were hooked up with nature. The concept that we've been getting to in terms of holistic and vegan, sometimes that have gone too far to the left. Saying abandon everything else but this. But remember, we were vegans in some places, but we were eating lamb and beef in Africa, because that's what the culture called for, that's what the environment called for. We weren't able to plant in the desert edge, so we got our protein where we could get it, because it's not about the beef or the meat, it was about the protein, okay? When we were in the cultures where you could get your protein from vegetables, there was no need to deal with the meat, protein, or fish for protein. If you at the shore where you can get the fish for the protein, then you get the fish for the protein, but it's protein you're looking for. Right? But what she just laid out makes sense, because we have fallen, I'd say in the last 2 decades, into that trend that you were describing, because others have telling us we're not smart enough. Others have telling us we can't learn science. We invented science. I'm going to talk about that because that's what spirituality is really about. But I support you, but I just want to put a little caveat there that we never stop being the scientists. Somebody stopped us. And we got to undo that if we're going to get back on track. But that's basically another piece I wanted to add that we don't pay much attention to, and we should, is the economic piece. People were talking about it, but economic is the foundation of any nation. And all economics is how you use the wealth in your ecology and the environment you find yourself in. If I'm in the Congo, economics would be coltan, cobalt, gold, and diamond. But if I'm in Jacksonville, right, economics is real estate, tax revenues, and the monies that you put into the government that come back from the government. If you don't know how to mine the revenues of government, somebody else will, and you won't get any of it. Okay? You've got to learn to get the wealth out of the ecology you find yourself in. And between the Civil War and really the 1950s, we built some of the most powerful economic communities in America. And we're not poor now. The game of black poverty is a game. Most of us have never been impoverished, okay? Though a lot of us have been impoverished. But I can go into Maryland and I can find some of the richest community in America, and they're almost 70% black. I can go in California and find some of the richest community in America, and they're over 70% black. And what they call the richest, they're talking about when you have your median income is 100,000 or more, and your population rate is about 50%. The black population in about 30, 40 sectors of this country is about 50%, but the median income is over $100,000, but nobody talks about that. They just act like we don't exist. And then that don't even include the black middle class. They just dump the black middle class that we never had one. Then there is a black working class. People doing that 9 to 5 every day, working hard and doing 2 jobs, taking care of their kids and sending them to school. Nobody talks about them. They talk only about those of us who fell through the cracks. Those they were able to beat down and put the drugs in our community, the drugs given our community from the law enforcement and the government institutions in our community. Yes, they use people in our community to help do that, but we better be clear on the history so we can get out of the mystery. And so, let's just understand that we must build economics. We're talking about the 28. I try to buy black every damn day. The 28. We don't need to react to Mr. Trump and them. They got a white war going on in America, all right? We're caught in the middle of the white war. Let them fight their war with each other. They got a class war. They have a class war that they're fighting. And they've been using us, especially the Jews and the so-called American liberals have used us against the so-called American right wing. We just need to move out of the way, let them fight each other. We don't need to shop at any place that don't belong to us unless it's just essential for our survival. If it's essential, then you gotta do it. But otherwise, we should take that $2 trillion we spent last year. Anybody with $2 trillion should have no unemployment and no poverty in their community. The only reason we have poverty is because we're not organized and united to use the economics that's already in our hands to create more economics, to make sure all of our people have economics in their hands. I hope that wasn't too much. But you stimulated that, Gigi. So, Mr. Master of Ceremonies, is that? Thank you.
Is someone flag on the joint on the town hall discussion?
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, so glad it's in Jacksonville. Thank you to all the people who traveled to come here. I want to say that us uniting is going to have to be it's going to have to be from within. We have to read. We can't just listen to what people tell us. We have to have books about ourselves and our homes. Maybe everybody can't necessarily afford to buy everything. We have excuses of books are taken out of the schools, books are taken out of the libraries. We have places in communities, local places, like Cafe Resistance, right here in Jacksonville, with all those banned books, right there for you. They've got books for sale. They have the ability for you to sit there and read the books for free. If you're not going to take them home, you can read them there. Also, they've got a great big bookshelf full of books about us, for us, that you can take home for free. So, knowledge. I believe that is something that will inspire us. It has to come from within.
Anybody else want to chime in? I got you, bro.
Greetings, everybody. My name is Bono Blues, and what I like to say is as far as educating our people, we have resources that's available. We just have to use them. You take, for instance, the documentary series Eyes on the Prize. About 15 years ago, I bought it on eBay, okay? And it's a 7-disc series from Eyes on the Prize, which is factual footage from like the early 50s all the way up until 81, 82. But our struggle is real, They got factual footage of people getting water hoses, the Montgomery bus boycott. It's a very good educational tool to let our children and elders know about the struggle that we had to endure. I was in my teens when a lot of this stuff was happening back in this early 60s and so. You take, for instance, The Last Poets. A lot of brothers and sisters don't know about The Last Poets, but I'm here to tell you that I'm a disciple of The Last Poets. I'm 72 years old, and I'll be doing The Last Poets until I die. Okay? The legacy of The Last Poets is a part of American history. And I'm going to make sure, as long as I got life in my body, make sure that The Last Poets is heard. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters.
Appreciate you, brother.
Hello, everyone. My name is Naeemah, and I'm with Nefertiti Books and Gifts, and we're in Arlington. Give you a little background. We opened up the bookstore in 1990, so we've had a lot of culture. Umar, we remember going over to Umar's place. He's always been inspired. And also, I wanted to really reach out to the brothers and sisters that are here and to say to you, open up your hearts. When we come to functions like these, we should be able to network with each other. You should be able to walk away from these type of programs and have 10 numbers in your pocket. This is the purpose of these events. It's for us to extend ourselves to each other, to open up our hearts. We already know the answers, the solutions. We just have to get together and start doing them. Loving on each other, healing on each other. That's what it's all about. We've been around for a long time. We want to be able to pass it on. That's what it's all about. One thing we have in common with each other, we love Africa. We love Africa. And we want to be able to bring up our children that way. Every generation. That's what it's all about. Open up your hearts. Just open up your hearts. The answer is inside of all of us. Let's get together and build. That's what it's about. We had the resources. We had the resources. Building schools, building daycare centers, building a library. One book at a time. Read to your children every day. Why aren't we doing that? This is what it's all about. This is what it's all about. Open up. And that's the reason, one of the things that one of the poets have given things on my heart, and it's Nikki Giovanni. She said, when you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, let's do something. Love all of you.
I share it. All right, Bubba Smalls has a comment that he wants to share with us, so I'm going to give it to Bubba. And then after that, we're going to take about, a quick 30, 45 minute break for everybody to eat, kind of 30-minute break for everybody to eat, kind of chop it up with vendors, mix and mingle, network like the Queen just said, because it's something that we definitely got to do collectively, not understand by the fall.
Well, I wanted to tell Bubba first that Abby Abdullah called me last night. I should have told him that I was with you. Abby Abdullah is one of the founders of The Last Poet, and one of the three survivors.
When you talk to him again, tell him Bongo, because I performed with him in Miami a few years ago.
Okay.
I played drums for him.
But an extraordinary brother. But the other comment was that we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves. Okay? We should be hard on ourselves, but not be so hard on ourselves. We've been fighting a war for 500 years against the most formidable institution ever arrayed by mankind, psychologically, politically, and physically. And we have been victorious on much of the occasions that we've engaged these people. We didn't ask for this war. We did not migrate to America. Now there's some of us who migrated here centuries before. But by the time white diseases got through with them, most of them died. We who came on that ship, we didn't ask to come here. And those who was left of those who migrated here in earlier centuries, we amalgamated with them. So there's no ADOS, and there's no foundation of Black America separate from the rest of Black America. We amalgamated centuries ago into one African people. And so we have to make sure that we don't be playing ourselves out of pocket, because we've already been played out of pocket. This is really about ignorance on the highest level, when you really want to understand. Because if we knew better, we would do better. Anybody that know better would do better. But when someone else takes control of your education system, they've taken control of your socialization process. And that's how you get your values, your interests, and your principles. And for almost better than a half a century now, we advocated our socialization process to our enemies. And we need to take it back. I think this sister was talking about, and that's nothing new, us teaching our children our history in our churches, okay, or in our mosques. There's nothing new that we should be teaching in our homes, but we advocated that to the school system, a school system that we no longer ran. When the school system was Black, we could do that because that was us doing that for ourselves. But when the school system after Brown versus the board, that wasn't done. And let me just say a little something about Brown versus the board. I'm saying I want to eat some of this macaroni with the system like that. But Brown versus the board wasn't the original case. There was two Brown versus the board before the Supreme Court. One was a Washington, D.C. case with Brown versus the Board of Education, and one was the Kansas case, the Topeka, Kansas case, which got passed. That's the one in which the definition was given. But there was also a case out of West Virginia with a young Black woman who was suing the high school, and there was one out of Canton, South Carolina. What the Supreme Court did was to fuse the four cases. The only case that was asking for integration was the Topeka case, which I call a fabricated case where the daughter of the NAACP father brought this case, and he was the president, the daughter of the president of the NAACP brought that case because they wanted to what do you call it when you want to cut off the other thing? They wanted to cut off the other cases that was asking for proportional return of the dollar. Saying, give me the money and I will teach sciences in my school. Buy me the chemistry, give me the money to buy the chemistry lab and I will set up my chemistry lab in my school. Give me the money to buy the bus and our children don't have to walk to school while white kids are riding on the bus. They did not want the proportional return of the dollar case to go past the Supreme Court. So they fabricated Brown versus the board. If you think I'm crazy, that's a good brother. He wrote The Crisis of the Negro Intellectual, Dr. Harold Cruz, who white folks don't like you to read. Dr. Harold Cruz, his book that is most significant for this discussion is called Plural but Equal. Get that book. He does an analysis on the civil rights movement. He's an ancestor now. And most of you never heard of Dr. Harold Cruz because the system wouldn't let his literature pass. You understand? But you can buy Plural but Equal by Dr. Harold Cruz and look at his analysis of the civil rights movement and the intent. Because before we had an NAACP, where we sat at a table with a bunch of whites who took over our organization, and it wasn't until the 1980s we got it back. And when we got the first Black president of the NAACP, the first thing they did was to take the legal arm away and call it the Greenberg legal something, and neutered the NAACP, because the legal arm was the teeth of the NAACP. That's what our French did. But the NAACP is the grandchild of an organization founded in 1892 called the Afro-American League by a group of Black women along with T. Thomas Fortune in Rochester, New York. That group evolved, and Ida B. Wells and others was a part of it. So was Booker T. Washington. That evolved into the Niagara movement, and the Niagara movement evolved into the NAACP. We made some alliances with some people that took advantage of us and cost us a lot. But if you don't study history, you'll be caught up in the mystery. So let's enjoy our lunch and enjoy the vendors And then I'm going to try to talk to you, pretend I know something about talking about spirituality and God. And we're going to have fun. Harold does an extraordinary job.
That's really good.
ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé ṣàpò ìyàgbọ́ tẹ́ǹtì ẹni takísà ní tàtàn ò bá padà sílé anítìjà kọ ẹja lọ pé eégún mo ṣe ní gbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́ forsake not your ancestors and praise your.